What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Wuthering Waves videos, and sit down, have a seat. This is going to be a pretty serious one. It may change the landscape of what you plan to do when the game drops. Personally, it doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form because I love challenges, but we've got some pretty big news. So first off, Arikatsu, Datamind, shout out to you, and Corin for posting this on the Wuthering Waves leaks. I know, I'm doing leaks already. It is what it is, because this is an important one, right? This is for global when it drops. So a couple things to note here. So done making updates unless someone finds something I'm missing. Plunge spam is dead. Nerfs for better standard banner DPSs, except Danjin, who somehow got a minor buff. Let's talk about all those nerfs, because that may affect, like I said, the way you plan to go about your re-rolling and what you plan to do, because this is a pretty big deal for some of you, and I think everybody needs to have it. So characters. First off, start off with Alto. Resonance, Liberation, Flower in the Mist, Gate of Quandary, attack increase. Old was 1 to 10%. Now new one is 10% to 10%. I guess it's just a flat 10%. I'm not sure where the 10% to 10% is coming from. But intro skill, feint shot, skill damage. The old one was 152 to 302. It's got a massive nerf there, guys. 100% from 152 to 198. 198, Resonance Chain 6. Old, the attack of the Resonance Liberation Flower in the Mist is additionally increased by 10%, and when Alto's heavy attack passes through the Gate of Quandary, the damage is increased by 50%. The new one now, Resonance Liberation in the Mist, now additionally increases crit rate by 8%, so no longer damage. When Alto heavy attack passes through the Quandary, the damage delta is increased by 50%. So they've made a little bit of a swap. It looks like the attack versus crit rate. I think that's a buff. I'd rather have the crit rate, to be quite honest, but I mean, it depends on your gear and how much crit you have with Alto. So, okay, Baizhi here, we have basic attack, Destined Promise, mid-air attack. Her old attack was 76 to 151. Her new attack is 39% to 78. Man, oh man. Big time nerfs. And this is why people talked about CB2 and warned everybody about CB2, right? Everyone's like, take these numbers with a grain of salt, because the moment global hits, shit like this can happen. Anytime, right? So, Resonance Chain 3 old increases fusion damage by 3%. New intro skill Overflowing Frost increases Baizhi's max HP by 12% for 10 seconds. Now, that's not bad because she does scale off of HP, which could actually be beneficial. Of course, testing has to be done, but elemental damage is pretty huge. But she's not really a damage dealer. So, I mean, at the same time, you're kind of like, maybe the HP scale is better. It is for 10 seconds, by the way. Resonance Chain 6. Old, when the character picks up Heavenly Sound, the glacial damage bonus for all characters in the nearby team increased by 12%, lasting for 12 seconds. Now, when Ephonia is picked up, increase the damage, glacial damage of all characters nearby by 12% for 20 seconds. So that's actually better now. So that's got a buff. So that's good. More support. That's what she is. And that's, so here we go. Calcharo or Calcharo, I don't know how you say it properly. People say it two different ways. I'm going to just stick with Sephiroth Mini. Basic attack, Gnawing Fangs. This is pretty bad. Old, 129 to 256. New, 104 to 206. My man's getting nerfed. Gnawing Fangs, mid-air attack, 163 to 324. Oh my god, they killed him here. 62% to 123. Guys, what the hell, man? Come on now. Now listen, I'm all about balancing, because I think it's very important to set proper expectations for global players, especially because if you bring out all the CB2 numbers into global and people are like, oh my god, this is incredible, the numbers match, and then you start nerfing after the fact, it's a worse situation. So right now, the nerfing should be happening now more than anything. That balancing should be happening now, because again, most of us have not played this game, and we're going in with, you know, most of us are going in with blind eyes. We're opening eyes for the first time and seeing the game, and I don't want to be seeing nerfs happening a week later when I'm already invested into a character, right? Very important to note that. Anyways, Resonance, Liberation, Phantom Echoing, Hound's Roar Part 1. Old was 52% to 63, 104. New one is 44.3 to 88. Man, they're just nerfing him to the ground. Look at this. Echo Part 2, 107 to 13, 88 to 176, 128 Part 3, Part 4, like you name it, he's just getting destroyed left and right when it comes down to all of these numbers. And I mean, I guess it needed to be done. I honestly, I haven't heard that he's that OP, so I'm surprised they're doing all these numbers. But anyways, after Resonance, Liberation, Deathblade, Gear State ends, Calcharo next intro skill is replaced with intro skill Necessary Means, which deals electro damage considered as intro skill damage. This was buffed, so this is actually nice, and you want electro damage to be more, because at the end game, it looks like elemental damage is superior than attack, so that's a very good buff, actually. So some places he's got buffed, some places he's got nerfed. So Forte Circuit, Hunting Mission, Heavy Attack, Mercy, got nerfed as well. Forte Circuit, Hunting Mission, Death Messenger also got nerfed. So for the most part, you're seeing a lot of nerfs happening here, but we got one buff. So let's see what the Resonance Chain 2 looks like. After the Resonance Liberation Armed Slaughter state ends, the next intro skill of Calcharo will be replaced with intro skill Necessary Means. So same one here, causing 200% times 2 electro damage. This skill is intro skill damage, so very similar to the first Resonance Liberation here. This is just Resonance 2 now. Now the new one is after Calcharo casts intro skill Wanted Criminal or intro skill Necessary Means, so whenever you cast this, his resonance skill damage bonus is increased by 30% for 12 seconds. Oh, this looks good, but this is going to need to be tested. All right, old one, skill chain 4. When casting outro skill Shadow Raid, the attack of the characters and team is increased by 20%. After casting for 15 seconds, same thing here, except now you get electro damage bonus of all team members increased rather than attack. So that's pretty big. So he's going to be better for Yinlin for sure, to give her more electro damage. So that's actually not a bad one, especially if you're running electro team. So a lot of nerfs here for our boy. I'm still going for him. I don't care. I still want to play. I want to have the challenge. Chixia here, Fort Circuit. We got 14 to 10%. I mean, it's been nerfed. We got 200 to 220. This has been buffed. So this is heroic bullets. Resonance Chain 6. Old triggering resonance skill boom increases basic attack of all parties by 17%. The new one now increases attack damage bonus of all team by 25%. Oh, this is actually really good. This is a way better buff. Danjin. This is the one I don't understand. They're actually buffing her. She's supposed to be incredibly powerful. Increases HP by 3%. When Danjin attacks a target with resonance skill incinerating, will her damage... Oh my god, as if they're giving her more buffs. She's apparently still already broken. Encore. Pretty big nerf here for mid-air attack. Resonance Cosmos Rays. Not too much of a nerf, still a nerf. Resonance Liberation Cosmo Rave. Frolicking Part 2. Again, see a nerf. Liberation Cosmos Rave Part 3. Nerf. Part 4 nerf. Jesus. This is heavy attack nerfed. Resonance Liberation Cosmo Rave counterattack nerfed as well. And then inherent skill Angry Cosmos. During the Resonance Liberation Cosmo Rampage, when Encore health is above 70%, damage is increased by 12%. They've actually reduced it to 10%. My god, she got destroyed by nerfs. Wooly's Cheer Dance. When using Resonance skill Thermal Wooly or Resonance Liberation Cosmos Rampage, Encore's fusion damage is increased by 15%, lasts for 10 seconds. Now it's only 10% for 10 seconds. Man, oh man, oh man. Old fusion damage by 3. When basic attack hits a target, Encore's fusion damage increased by 3, stacking up to 4. Okay, so that's a buff. That's actually a good buff. So this one here was Let It Burn, damage by 10% to targets with HP lower than 10. Encore additionally restores 10 resonance energy when casting basic attacks. Woolies or resonance. This can be triggered once every 10 seconds. I can't tell if that's a buff or not. I'm not versed in her kit yet. Okay, Resonance 4. When casting Liberation Cosmos, Flame of Rampage, the attack of the character and the team increased by 20%, lasting for 30 seconds. This one just increases fusion damage by 20% for 15 seconds. Again, can't tell if this is going to be bigger or not. I think it's a better thing because, again, elemental damage is supposed to be better. So during the period of Resonance Liberation Cosmo Rampage, each damage dealt would stack 1 layer of Lost Land for yourself. Each layer increases the attack by 5%, lasts for 10 seconds, can stack up to 6 times. Now they've done Lost Lamb. It's 5% instead of sorry. It's the same thing, but it's 5 stacks instead of 6 stacks. Okay, so it's again a nerf there. Okay, John Shin here. So nerf, buff, nerf. This looks like a nerf as well. Jiyan, nerf. Old after casting tactical, Jiyan's increased by 8%. Buff here for sure. Wind Gathering. When hitting a target, Jiyan's critical hit increased by 1%, lasts for 8 seconds, and can stack up to 10 times. When Jiyan attack hits a target, Jiyan's critical damage is increased by 12%. Oh, that's good end game. Really bad early game, I'd imagine, because getting crit rate in order to do crit damage might be a problem early on. Probably later on, this is probably a good thing. Old, after casting the intro skill Surprise, Jiyan accumulates 30 points of attack. The damage bonus of Jiyan's basic attack and heavy attack is additionally increased by 36%, lasting 14 seconds, and can be triggered every 15 seconds. After casting the tactical strike, Jiyan gains 30 resolve, and his attack is increased by 28% for 15 seconds, can be triggered every 15 seconds. So this is definitely a nerf there. Okay. When Vanguard state ends, the heavy attack damage of the character team is increased by 17.5, lasts for 10 seconds. Now whenever Prelude or Resonance Liberation Eternal Storm Finale, the heavy attack damage bonus of all team members is increased by 25% for 30 seconds. So much better there. That's a buff, I think, because now you're doing... Yeah, this is a buff for sure. Okay, Resonance 5. Outro skill self-discipline damage multiplier increased by 165.4. Gathering Wind bonus when hitting the target. Jiyan's arrow damage is increased by 2.5%, lasting for 8 seconds. Can stack up to 20 times, okay? This one now is when Jiyan... So this is 120% damage, so they definitely nerfed that. When Jiyan attacks hit a target, his attack is increased by 3% for 8 seconds, which is not as good because I'd rather have arrow damage. Stacking up to 15 times. This effect is immediately maxed after you cast intro. Oh, okay, that's not bad. The fact that it gets maxed right away after casting intro skill tactical strike is pretty good. Okay, Lingyang, nerf, huge buff here for the circuit. Resonance Chain 4. When Lingyang casts outro skills, Trace, Step on Snow, and Point to Stars, increases party members' attack by 20% for 15 seconds. Now it's the Glacial damage for 20% for... That's actually a buff, I think. The Mortify here, old when casting Resonance Liberation, Violent Finale. The attack of the character team is increased by 20%, lasting for 30 seconds. Now it's when you cast it, attack of all team members is increased by 20% for 20 seconds. So that's a nerf. All right, some Rovers, main characters. So debuff... Or sorry, nerf, not debuff. Nerf, chain, fusion damage by 3%. Rover's crit rate is increased by 15% for 7 seconds. Much better. Much, much better. Old, when casting the resonance skill echoing 1,000 cuts, recover 20 points of concerto energy. Spectral damage increased by... I think this is much better as well. So that's a buff. Rover resonance liberation damage increased by 40%. Definitely much better. After releasing Resonance Liberation, Let It Burn immediately resets Resonance Skill, Fighting Spirit, Resonance Skill, Resonating Slash, and Resonance Skill, Resonating Spin, reduces the target's spectral damage by 10. Much better. Man, they really buffed the Rover. And I think that's a necessity, right? Because, I mean, that's technically your main character. The MCs are never really the main characters of the games, but story-wise, they usually are, right? So that's why. Taoqi, so nerf, buff. This is actually a buff. Wow. This is a buff? I can't tell. 300 plus 1 minus 570. What the hell is that? Okay, that's a weird one. This one also looks like a... And maybe these are both nerfs. Verina, nerf, buff. How are they buffing her? Buff. When Verina casts heavy attack, this is a big one. Tree's growth, all increases spectral damage, boost by 15% for lasting for 12 seconds. Now you do increases the spectral damage of all team by 15% for 24 seconds. They buffed her more? The hell? Okay, Yang, nerf. The damage caused by resonance skill increases by 40%, and the traction of the wind field on the surrounding targets is enhanced. This one here now is skill damage bonus is increased by 40%, so that's the same. The wind field's pulling effect on surrounding targets is enhanced, and pulling range is expanded by 33%. Okay, I think that's actually a buff, so that's good. After casting the mid-air attack Feather Release, the attack of all characters in the team is increased by 20%, and the effect lasts for 14 seconds. Now, after casting it, the attack of all team members increased by 20% for 20 seconds. So that's a buff. All right, Yinlin. Nerf, when the resonance skill Thunder Summoning hits a target with Sin Binding Mark, the damage is increased by 70%. Deals 70% more damage. Okay, the damage... Oh, I think maybe that's a nerf. I can't tell if that's a nerf or not, because this is the damage is increased for overall damage versus just a skill damage. Now, it sounds like a nerf to me, but we'll have to find out. Punishment Mark can be triggered every 0.75 seconds, and the damage of Judgment Thunder is increased by 50%. Forte Circuit, Judgment Strikes, damage multiplier is increased by 55%. This one looks better. Yuanwu here, nerf, old. When the resonance skill Thunder Wedge hits the target with a coordinated attack, the damage is increased by 60%. Of his defense. Now when the coordinated attack hits a target, the damage is increased by 20%. Oh my god, that's a big nerf. Holy jumping. Okay, so there's some typos here. I'm not going to go through the weapons. You guys can go through this. I just want to go through the characters more than anything. Yeah, that's bad. That's looking bad, guys. Anyways, there you guys go. Am I going to change my way of approach? Hell no. I'm still going for Calcharo, and then Verina is my next goal. She got buffed, which is crazy to me. But nonetheless, there you guys go. I hope, again, this doesn't change anything for you, but I just want to know you guys. I just want to give you guys the information, at least so you know what's happening. Enjoy the video, guys. I will put the link in the description as well for you guys to look at any time. This is Payne. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.